Welcome, everybody. My beautiful IU. Thank you for bearing with us. We couldn't have this session live for unknown technical reasons that Facebook seems to be having. But I'm Marc Mangus, the digital shaman, with you again. And my guest today is Jim Petruzzi, an elder and shamanic practitioner. And we're going to be talking about unity and its role in healing, unity and community, which is something near and dear to both of our hearts. So I'm sure we're going to have a very rousing and interesting discussion about that. So without further ado, Jim, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your journey that kind of brought you here and
Hmm.
where your medicine, where you're connecting from and what you do.
Okay, sure. Jim Gray Wolf, Jim Petruzzi. Um, my journey here. That's a long one. Okay, do we have another show? Oh, yeah. Okay, thumbnail sketch. I am called elder by others now, so I've finally learned to accept it. I still keep looking behind me for my elders, and they're all gone. So I guess it's us.
That's a
So
good sign. Yeah.
yeah, right. I um I was brought up traditional Italian Catholic um, on the East Coast. But even as a child, I knew that wasn't for me. It just wasn't the way to go. So I went into a spiritual road after a period of time. Um, my DNA is Romani Gypsy, Italian branch, and Native American, and then a smattering of other things. So I'm a mongrel. My my grandmother was a medicine woman in Italy, northern Italy, and southern Switzerland. And she's the only one that really told me what our family DNA was, which I found out years later she was correct. Um, so, anyway, after a number of years, I stepped up on a spiritual path more seriously, probably in my early 30s, which, yes, that's a couple of years back. So, obviously, we had no internet. At least we didn't have to worry about the connection problems. So, I traveled around the globe, living with and learning from a lot of different indigenous cultures. My primary teacher was Lakota, John Two Bears. So that was convenient because I was with Colorado State for a period of time and a long period of time, and he lived in Colorado. But I had Mayan teachers and Garifuna teachers, African, and a bunch of others. I, I'm a member of United Western Lenape tribe back east. And I'm adopted Lakota by Two Bears and adopted Mayan. And like I said, I'm a true mongrel. I was
Mhm.
always told my path would be to be a bridge between
Mhm.
folks and a magnet to draw them in. And now it seems to really be happening. Things
Mhm.
have just changed dramatically in, well, in the last few years, but certainly even in the last 6 months, things have sped up so fast. And I'm here to do my work. I don't label myself as anything other than human being. My communities, my peers, others want to label me. That's totally fine. I just try to do my work and use the medicine I've been taught. And I've been taught a lot of shamanic medicine after fighting it for a number of years. I was learning spirit medicine, but I didn't really want the shamanic medicine. But
Mhm.
the time came I knew I had to learn, and several of my teachers started working with me for a number of years till I felt at least semi-competent. And here we are now, and people are coming around. I live near Sedona, which is a highly spiritual spot. Just acquired a house last March, which we're turning into a sanctuary of a place
Mhm.
where people can come as things crash and we can learn. Comes out of a vision I had on my first vision quest of 100 of these around the globe. Um,
Mhm.
and now it's starting to play out. So there's all kinds of energies going on here, and I'm sure other places, other
Mhm.
highly spiritual places. So that's it. Thumbnail sketch.
Thank you for sharing your story. I'm sure people can relate to parts of it. I know I can. and the community aspect of it, with what I want to definitely get into what's happening on your end in a little more detail, but just to bring folks up to speed, at least the thumbnail for me around community was I've been going through quite a transformation and healing journey the last couple of years, in particular, coming out of a period where I was in debilitating chronic pain for 12 years. And when you're in that much pain, the people who can relate to that know that your natural instinct is to isolate yourself and cut yourself off from basically anything that can help you. That's what I realized. And now what I know to be true for me and others is that your instinct is exactly the opposite of what you should do, because healing happens in community, emotional, spiritual, physical, all of it. And it's an often unappreciated and not talked about aspect of healing. And one of the things that I got from the Q'ero shamans in the Andes was that your wounds are your power. And what they mean by that, in one man's interpretation of it, is your wounds are what connect you to everyone else. It's what connects you to community. So this notion of, the healed, energy worker, healed shaman that runs around healing other people is just not what you find in the real world. We're all wounded. We all have baggage. And our wounds are not only what connects us to others, but it's what gives us the insight to guide others when asked, to maybe give them some different insights around their own healing. And as we say, unlock their own inner healer. And that's not a solo practice. That can't happen alone. So I know that was a lot, but what do you have to say about that aspect of healing?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting. There's that wounded healer, that suffering healer that you do hear about, and my teachers always said, no, that's not true. Sometimes we go through these things, much like you. I went through it for 7 years, where I literally woke up every morning and said, "Hey, Creator, please take me. I cannot bear this pain anymore." And you know what that's like. To make it even more interesting for me, actually, when I woke up, I would have literally 5 to 10 minutes of being relatively clear, and then wham, it would come in and hit me.
Mhm.
And I worked on myself a lot, lone wolf, because you're right. You tend to pull in, we go into the cave. Damn
Mhm.
it, we're going to beat this. After
Right.
all, it's what men do.
Hmm.
The women have their own justification. And it certainly didn't work. I
Hmm.
would set goals for myself. Okay, on Christmas Day, I'm going to be done with this. And of course, it never worked. Finally, when I started running into some people, like you're saying, who all did different little aspects of healing work, and I released any expectations of when it would stop, or even if it would stop. That's when it actually started to stop,
Right.
to to slowly pull back off me. I would say I would get really angry at Creator. Why in the hell do I have to suffer this? And long after the fact, I realized, okay, well, if people come to me now to work with them, I got an idea what they're talking about. I understand the pain. And so I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but but it was a teacher.
Yeah, it seems to be right, wrong, or indifferent. It seems to be how this particular reality that we exist within is
Mhm.
set up. That there has to be this trigger of pain
Mhm.
that gives us the choice to choose suffering, which is all about our perception of the pain,
Yeah. Yep.
or to turn into it, as one of my shamanic mentors told me, turning into the pain and
Mm.
looking for the message.
Mm.
because that's the belief is that that's why the pain is there. It's to
Mhm.
give you a message because you won't pay attention to anything else.
No.
It had to break through to give you that message. And similar to you, I had to do a lot of work leading up to the time when I became pain free, which happened abruptly for me. But in hindsight, once I've had a few years to process what happened, I realized that the years leading up to that event were critical because, like you, I had started to detach my identity from the pain. I started thinking about it not as who I am, but something that I'm experiencing. And because of my studies and around indigenous cultures and how they heal, because everything was on the table for me. I'm going to figure this out, right? Um,
Yeah.
what they were, what a lot of them were saying across the world is that once you get the message, once you get the lesson, the pain will go find another student. And so I had started to think about pain as a capital P, as an archetype, as a teacher already. Then I found a community. I went to a shamanic gathering in Sedona, and there were 5 elder shamans there that had been doing it for a long time. And one of them was doing some work around ancestors, community again. We're part of a community of all that have come before and all that will come after us. And when we're in pain, a lot of times we think, I'm alone, I'm suffering. Well, it's not actually possible to be alone. That's an illusion that we create to add, I think, to add to the suffering. It certainly does, whether it's our intention or not. But I stepped into this ancestor workshop with an elder shaman, Stephen Farmer, and he led us through this exercise where we connected with some of our ancestors that had the same issue we had. And we didn't share what our issue was. We just had it present as we were going through this journey, right? And my paternal grandfather popped up in front of me in my awareness and made it very clear to me that we're connected through the pain. And he was there to help me do my work. And I had an incredible samadhi experience, out of body, where my identity dissolved and I felt connected to all that is for a while. You're in that space. It's timeless. You don't really know how long it is. But when I finally came back to myself, and everybody else did, and I looked around the room, everybody was shook to their core, crying, releasing all this stuff. And I kind of stumbled outside and put my bare feet on the red earth of Sedona. And I looked around and realized that that was the first time in 12 years that I had no pain. It was like somebody shut a light switch off and it hasn't returned. So that was a miraculous kind of catalyzing event. But like I said, it was a step on a journey. And it wouldn't have happened unless I had released the expectations, like you shared, but also put myself into a community where that kind of work could happen.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. First of all, the suffering piece. It was a while before some teachers told me that others can cause you pain. Somebody can come and stick a knife in your back. No one can cause you suffering except yourself. And so the suffering can be a teacher, but you have to move away from that. We're not suffering, like you just said. Look at it as a teacher, as difficult as that can be. And that helped quite a bit as well. But also, like you, yes, it's when others started showing up that I was beginning to be able to work it through. And I'd let go some other things too. Ego based for sure, because yeah, we're ego based. And we tend not to work on things until they become absolutely critical, and that's the human condition. Look at what we're
Right.
doing now. I mean, so many examples around us, but just our environment, which is suffering so much degradation for humans. And we're just, okay, we'll get to it. And it's that way with personal pain as well, I find, and personal growth. So as other teachers, other healing guides started to show up, it was, oh wow, I can let some of this go. I can ask for help. Asking for help was another
Mm.
biggie. That was a
Yeah,
no-no.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, then the road just started to open up. I was a little bit different than you. I had um, a sudden huge decrease in the pain, but it didn't go away. And I'm really stubborn. And I was fighting a war between the head and the heart. Absolutely was. And that still had to be worked on. And you had to understand that's an ongoing thing for humans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Andeans talk about right thinking, right
Yeah.
feeling, right action.
Yeah. Hmm.
And to be a fully expressed, balanced human being that's in harmony, those three things are connected and in harmony, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Not easy.
It all sounds so easy.
It all sounds easy, right? So tell us a little bit more about your burgeoning community there. It's the Eagles Roost
Ah,
Sanctuary, right?
yeah. I'm part of a nonprofit, Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, which was the vision I had years ago in my first vision quest. And then it disappeared literally for 7 years. I knew I had a vision. I couldn't remember it because the time wasn't right, which is another big thing to learn. Timing is critical. Um, about a year and a half ago now, no, maybe 2 years ago, when I came back to the Sedona area, I knew it was time to really do some work now. We could see what's coming. We're right in the middle of it. The prophecies were all saying that, yep, here it is. We're moving in from the fourth earth to the fifth, or the fifth to the sixth, depending on your culture. And so I had to leave the place I was staying. My friends wanted to make it into a retreat center, and I had limited funds because being a nonprofit for the 20 years before that, I just didn't make a lot of money anymore. So somehow this place I'm in now appeared. Creator wanted us to have this and to begin this community, and I was able to acquire it. It's still a challenge, each month. Okay, we got to pay these bills, but it's increasing and it's pulling in a lot of people. So we're on top of a mesa. We're up above Montezuma's Well, which is a sacred place here that the natives lived around for generations before they disappeared. So it's quite a spot. Um, and lately, those that need to work together are coming together, and that's part of that quickening that I mentioned.
Right.
So a fellow approached me, and he's Jim, there's this huge piece of land here, 314 acres plus or minus. And boy, if we could acquire this, it could be part for people to live on and grow crops, part for ceremony, big part of it preserved. And I said, well, let's get together and talk. So he came up, and then others came up. So it just keeps burgeoning.
Mhm.
And then some of the indigenous folks started reaching out. So the Kogi got hold of me through a friend who I hadn't talked to for 10 years. And she said, well, I'm down here now with the people and they want to talk to you. And so now we're working with the Kogi, who are an indigenous people in Colombia, the least contacted culture on the planet. It said to get them here so we can create another partnership. They've been here before and I've worked with them. And then some of the other tribes are getting hold of me. Well, what if we do this? So all the weaving of this new existence are now happening. And those who need to appear are appearing. There's
Mhm.
individuals showing up who either are being called to move here and they don't know why, or are coming back, like I did. Um, Yesterday, we did a one-day retreat, myself and two friends. And boy, did that turn powerful. And that was all about connections. Those who showed up have amazing gifts. Most of them were new to the area and had no idea why they came. And we're seeing more and more of that. So we're going to connect these spots. The shamanic medicine helps us connect. The teaching is that I received back way in the beginning. Shamanic medicine, one of its functions was communication,
Hmm.
that the shamans could
Right.
connect. They were the first internet, if you will.
Right.
They could connect being to being all around the planet. So they had that web. They stopped using it, although there are still some who do. I know a few of the ones who do still use it, but it's not used the way it was because it got too easy. We got an internet, and I'm not,
Right.
it is what it is. But connecting together to do this weaving is so important. And now
Mm.
we need to be not only community as you and I have experienced, but one community. Back to one mother, one tribe, with all our differences, different paint on the outside, different genders, but really have to stand up and reconnect with the earth
Yeah.
in a way we never have.
Yeah, I feel that too. And I echo what you said about
Mhm.
the coming together and the quickening. I feel it as well. And for me, I do most of my work online, but I have aspirations and a vision as well of being part of a healing community. And I think a lot of people do. It just hasn't manifested yet.
Mhm.
Um, so what I'm doing is building an online community here in the Shaman Circle, but also doing a 12-week program, which is about a community of healing and bringing people in. And I'm kind of in the middle of doing my first one. And I'm telling you that it's at least as impactful on me it is as it is the people that are coming in.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much so fast because, like you're saying, we all have differences, but people's lived experience is so beautiful and the commonalities as well as the differences. I mean, pain is one of the things that unite us all. It's hard to find a person that hasn't experienced some kind of intense pain or trauma in their life
Yeah.
that they're probably still carrying around unless they've done their work.
Excuse me.
So that's something that can unify us at first, and then, like you're saying, becoming one tribe and having an intention for global healing is really kind of the shift that me and others are in the middle of. And from the beginning, when I engaged with the elders in the Andes, their teachings have always been to dream the world into being first, and then dream your community, and then dream yourself in that order, right? And that's a very different way of thinking for us Westerners. It's common, and you've got exposure to African traditions as well. And I've studied a bit about Ubuntu and the communities that kind of live that way, where the mantra is "I am because we are." So there are other communities that have very similar philosophies, but it's still relatively revolutionary and groundbreaking to us Americans to think that way.
Yeah, it's absolutely revolutionary to Western thought. Um, the indigenous model is awesome. We're learning from it. There's a lot they can help us with and lead, but it's not about any one culture. It's right.
Yeah.
It's everybody coming together. Everybody has something to put into the pot and
Mhm.
create our stew that we're creating. And yeah, when I first started Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, it was online. And that's
Mhm.
about 11 years, 12 years ago now. And it got huge and global and just spread. And I would sit there going, but wait, these were going to be physical places. Until one elder said, will you pay attention? That's the first one. Who said it would be physical? Oh,
Right.
whoops. Okay. And then I let it lag off because that part had been accomplished. And now some of the physical is appearing, but also you're so right. Online's critical. Here
Yeah.
we are talking. I was on last night with some elders, and they were in one, two, three, four, five, like 7 different countries, ranging from New Zealand to India. What an incredible tool. So if this is used in the proper way, it's a great tool. It can also be misused like everything else. But it's a mix, I've found. It's critical to have the hands-on, in your face physical portion as well. Then they support each other because it's a different experience. If you and I were sitting together having a cup of coffee, having this discussion, it would be very different than it is right now. Here we are on I guess on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the at least from my view, the in-person part of it is relates to how energy and pain and a lot of the things that we're talking about they're not just things that we think about. They're actually somatic. They're in our bodies and we carry them around. And that's kind of how this vehicle works is it's a manifestation and an expression of the spirit. But like my Caro teachers say, it's like all the aspects of who we are. It's like pouring different colors of paint in a can and shaking it up. So they're all connected. So you can't separate or isolate parts of it and say, I'm going to work on just that. And that's, I think, where being in person really kind of brings it home in a different way. But there are still a lot of things that we can do kind of using the non-local aspect of reality as well. And I think that's why these online communities work is because energy, or excuse me, space and distance and time are all human constructs. And so if we use our divine connection that we all have and put ourselves into a timeless sacred space, we can make those kinds of connections. Like you're saying, the elders that still do the spiritual version of the internet, right? That's why it works. The exciting thing to me, having been trained as a physicist as a young man, is that science is catching up to that and kind of explaining how that quantum reality functions. And the old notions of things that can't be created or destroyed that we're all taught in school is being proven to be absolutely false. That things are created and destroyed all the time, and something comes from nothing. And so I think relating that back to community is community happens because people come together with a common intention. That's the idea. That's the start of it, and then everything kind of flows from there. And picking up on what spirit is laying down for you is how you get your intention focused, I believe. It's listening with your heart and not your ears, and getting past your own challenges. Or maybe a better way to say it is using your challenges as a catalyst to focus your intention instead of dumping all your energy into suffering.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all that too. It's um yeah, now working both ways is really powerful. Of course, I did all the physical in the beginning because we didn't have internet.
Right.
Um, and that was awesome. I was able to go around. I spent years going and I'd lived 4 months here and 6 months there. And then I had some Aboriginal friends from Australia come when I was in Colorado, and they wanted to know if they could stay a little while. And I said, sure. And they stayed a year and a half. So it was organically connecting and learning and sharing. And then it shifted, and now it is. And then I went mostly virtual, and now I'm working diligently to honor both. It's why I'm in your group, which is an excellent group, and is going to grow even more. And it's also re-engaging men, which is another storyline we may go to. We'll see,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's a fault of community right now. We have to work on, or lack, I should say, not a fault. Um, yeah, it's something came to me while you were just talking. A lot of things did, but a couple of them were key. Yeah, yeah. When I was in the old traditional model, and I had a lot of businesses, um, and they were successful. And boy, I thought I was such a great business person. Look what I did. Um, of course, it wasn't me. It was Creator giving me what I needed to go around and learn these things. Took me
Mhm.
years to know that. When my pain part came, it started after a short period of time when seven people very close to me, including my father and my wife at the time, all passed away. And it put me in this place, and I realized long afterwards, um, not only of the pain beginning and welcoming in the suffering, because I thought that would atone for things, because after all, I was a healer. I could heal people. How could seven people around me die? Boy, am I a failure. That's when I really started to understand I can't heal anybody. If we're lucky, we can heal ourselves.
Mhm.
And Creator and my teachers then started to say, no, what you need to strive to be as a shaman, as a teacher, as a guide, whatever, is a hollow bone. You let that healing energy from Creator and the universe come through you and connect with the person, and let then that person takes it on. And that's a big part of what the pain taught me.
Mhm.
And when I was able to then finally reach out to people and say, help, I need help. I can't do this. I
Right.
can't even heal myself now. I'm stuck in the old paradigm.
Mhm.
And I work with people in that now. Our nonprofit, I know what I was, yeah, our nonprofit, um, the three legs of our stool, if you will, are indigenous teachings, are modern but sustainable science, not the destructive kind, and the earth herself.
Mhm.
Those are the three elements. And most shamanic practitioners, most, and I do know, so I know a few who I would say you are a shaman. They won't say it, but I'll say it of them. Um, Subscribe to a similar version of that, with the earth being the primary teacher and the teacher we have not listened to.
Yeah, exactly. We don't we don't engage the earth as a living being with its
Good.
own
Yep.
sovereignty in the
Yeah.
West. We think it as a consumable resource.
Hmm.
And interestingly, the philosophy of as above, so below applies there because
Uh-huh.
I know for me and a lot of my peers, I treated myself as a consumable resource for years,
Yeah.
right? My body,
Yeah.
everything was kind of a slave to my will,
Yep.
to my intention, my ambition, whatever
Uh-huh.
you want to call it, on this mad quest to acquire things to make me feel safe.
Yep.
And it never happened. All it did was make me feel sick and
Yes.
make me get paid and suffer, right? That's what it did. And that was the awakening. That was the awakening I had, was realizing finally, after my hopefully last near-death experience in 2015, where I passed out and almost bled out on the floor from an ulcer that I didn't know I had.
Yep.
Um, I realized at that point that, yeah, okay, this isn't working. And I need to change anything and everything in my life. All my assumptions need to be challenged.
Mhm.
Whatever needs to happen will happen.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people get to that point when they're in that much pain. You either, frankly, you choose to check in or check out. I'm still here, so I chose to check in. And now I realize that how different. I mean, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be experiencing this life this way, I, I wouldn't have believed you. But it's about the communities, and I want to get back to the men's circle, the communities that we can build circles within circles, and realizing that not just how much direct benefit it has to surround yourself with people that can help, but how much it enriches your life. It's such a more beautiful, harmonious life to, like you and I engaging here, and hiring a business coach who knows more about doing stuff than I do, or having a men's circle where you're bringing in men, and the idea of a circle. where we're all peers helping each other, right? There may be somebody like me facilitating it, getting the group together, but it's like you were talking about the hollow bone concept before. That's my life now, is figuring out, can I hold space for something until it can hold space by itself, and just let it be born. Let spirit enliven it, enrich it with the energy that it needs to live on its own. And sometimes those things last for a moment. Sometimes they last for a lifetime. You never know. That's where the surrender and trust come in. So I love this idea of one tribe, but I think maybe how we get there, or maybe how it operates, is it's a huge circle with lots of smaller circles within it, kind of contributing and feeding it, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. Um, because the day of the lone wolf is absolutely over. It's not going to work. And by being that one mother, one tribe, we're all really under the skin. We're all the same.
Mhm.
Our goals may be stated a little differently, but basically, we're there. If we can get in touch with our heart and our spirit, we're there to live a good life, to be connected, to make a difference. All those positive elements. Our leaders over generations have not promoted that, just the opposite. When we become one mother, one tribe, we start to realize, hey, it's about us. We're the overwhelming majority. Why are
Mhm.
we listening to these beings? And now some of them are doing really insane things, which is for a purpose.
Mhm.
It's there to show us, hey, look at this hate, look at this fear, look
Yeah,
at this rage. This is where we have to shine the light.
right.
We together. And I'm seeing it start to manifest. And yeah, I mean, you're opening a lot of doors with great statements today. And it's something I've been waiting for, and I've been told it was going to happen. I was starting to wonder as I get older and older, but here it is. And it
Yeah,
is happening, and we all have a role. Each is critical right now, none more important or less important. We just have the roles that we need to stand up and do. And
yeah.
that's what's manifesting, I think.
I agree. I think in it standing up is the key phrase there, because
Mhm.
it has come to me many different ways, from
Mhm.
spirit holding up a mirror in front of me, saying that it begins with you, each of us individually, standing up to be counted with spirit and saying, I'm here to do my work.
Yeah.
I'm here. And having that sense of, like I was saying before, everything is possible. Everything's on the table. There's no sacred cows in my life. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to do this, right?
Yep.
Having that level of certainty and commitment is so powerful. I mean, we see people achieve with it all the time. Sometimes it's just for them, but it shows how that manifestation, how that commitment can work. Imagine if we all stood up to be counted for the earth and for each other, and not for individual achievement and some illusion of material gain, or whatever, because there's a lot of that still happening. But like you, I believe it. I have this conversation, it seemed, almost daily with someone about the extreme things that are happening in the world. And I've actually journeyed on aspects of it. And the message that I keep getting is, yes, this is happening for you, just like individual pain in your body. This is institutional pain in the world. And it's so extreme and so polarizing that you have to pay attention. And you have to see, well, you don't have to, but you can choose to get caught up in that vortex of polarity and choosing a side and giving away your sovereignty and your energy to the fight. Or you can see it for what it is, kind of this cartoon circus show that, 90% of what you're seeing isn't even really what's happening, but it's so extreme that you have to pay attention. And this is this is the choice we're each being presented with is, do you choose, comes down to, do you choose to give up your sovereignty and your power or continue to do that because that's where the culture is? Or do you choose to reclaim it on behalf of the earth and on behalf of each other? It's a powerful catalyzing time for all of us. So again, the choice comes down to suffering or doing something about it.
Yeah.
The doing something
Yes.
is not a it's not intuitive for a lot of people because we're taught in this
Yeah.
toxic masculine way that doing something means fighting and being
Yes.
polarized.
Yes.
But what I'm here to say, my truth is that doing something is actually being something.
Mm.
It's embodying the world that you want to see by doing your own inner work, all the really hard stuff that you don't want to do.
Mm.
By doing that, you change everyone around you.
Mhm.
And if we all do that, imagine the change that could happen. So it's less about the seeking and the going and the changing and the building and all that. We've been doing that for thousands of years, and look where it's
Mhm.
gotten us. It's
Exactly.
about embodying the energy.
Yeah, it really is. And it's been going on forever. And it does have to change. And absolutely, change no longer means grab a rifle and go shoot your enemy.
Yeah.
That's not change. That's status quo. Change means, for one thing, we have to get out of here and into here. We have to function first from the heart now, not the brain. And that's the war that was fought in me for years. I was up here. I'm Western culture. That's how I'm right up you too, all of us. And we were successful by God. We had a new car and we making a lot of money and blah 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 blah. And we were getting nowhere, spinning wheels. Now it's a function of working from the heart first. That doesn't say the brain's not important, but we start in the heart, then let the brain support, the opposite of what we've done. And it's allowing things to just happen. I have no expectations now when I go out. Okay, so the other day, here's a quick story. Here's an example for me.
Yeah.
Every day, something's showing up. So I was tired. Okay, there's a meeting of water protectors up in Sedona. Some of them are the one who leads it. The woman is a good friend of mine. And I'm going to go up and just spend a couple hours chatting and talking about how we're creating community through that work. And so I went up and I'm sitting in the meeting. And now, since I'm looked at as an elder, I have to color my hair black again. Uh, they ask me to speak. And if I have something to say, I will. But after I'm sitting there for a period of time, one young woman, I don't know, in her 30s, she had a young child with her, came over and said, so and so is coming into this area. Could you do something with them? Could you provide a teaching together? Because you both have been around a while. In other words, old. Um, and so, and of course, an hour after this meeting, that person reached out to me and said, I'm coming. Why don't we do something together? I said, wow, that's neat. And then this community of people who have been coming together to look at different properties here and connect us all, that's been happening big time. And so the woman leading the meeting said, Jim, after the meeting, can we just sit for a couple more minutes? And yeah, of course, Deborah. And she says, well, there's a property. It's about an hour from here. It's 45 acres, something like that. It's the headwaters of the local river, and the people have to sell it. Wouldn't it be amazing if that could be part of what you're doing and that could be acquired? And then how about if it was given back to the tribes to manage? So suddenly I've got two new things I have to look at and consider out of a meeting where I really went to put my feet up and relax. But it's okay because I'm listening. I'm paying attention. The mother is, it's now not only listening to Mother Earth, I've done that my whole life. I at least tried my best, but it's doing what she tells us. She is the one, and I'll put this out there and some people don't like it, but that's okay. Um, some of our religious things have led us far astray. You
Mhm.
know, you read the Bible, most of which was recreated by people after Christ came up with his teachings. And we're told that we're the stewards of the earth, or I forget the words they used. No, it's the other way around.
Mhm.
It's Mother Earth who is the stewards of us.
Right.
So if we do what she says, those things will heal. She'll be healthier, which makes us healthier because we are her and she is us. And to do that means you have to just be totally open. Don't question it. You have
Yeah.
to watch her words all the time. You did a couple of them. I just made them in a little click. You know, you said, hopefully I won't get that again. No, don't go there. You won't. You're done
Yeah.
with that, brother.
Yeah.
Something else may happen to us. What the hell? We're human. You know,
Yeah. We don't know.
we're in this package. But yeah, it's really happening. I read I read science things now because I keep up with both arms the best I can. And some of the native people just really laugh because, like, oh, there was one recently. Wow, trees can actually communicate. And they're all laughing. Yeah, like we've known that for how many generations?
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, everybody's catching up with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. We're at that, in a time of great awakening for sure on many levels within many circles, science being one of them. And it may be odd for people watching to hear, but you and I think, are on the same page with science that it's a powerful, neutral thing and can be shaped to work in our highest good, or it can be shaped to destroy the earth. And we're seeing both. And there are those out there who I won't name because that gives it energy and power, that believe that science is going to save us. The transhumanists, right? We're going to walk around as cyborgs and never die. And to me, that sounds and feels like hell on earth. That would create a hell for us. And we wouldn't have this beautiful, impactful temporal experience that is designed for us to gather experience and learn how to love each other and learn how to be loved. Um, yeah. So the false paradigms are dissolving by being, like you're saying, being heart centered. The heart is the ultimate truth detector. It's not, you're not going to rationalize your way out of it. It's interesting too, because this keeps coming up for me with clients that I work with, is they start to experience directly the energy work and are excited by it, and it really affects them, but they're still in their head trying to figure out, how does this work, or what does this mean for me, instead of just embodying the lesson. Because we're taught such a young age, I think a big part of it is this pulling yourself up by your bootstraps idea, and you have to figure it out, and it's not okay to live in the mystery. The indigenous people are taught the opposite, that most of what you experience is mystery, and it's fine. You can be in it and you can experience it without actually having to understand it. But for us, it's like we equate not understanding with pain, just like we equate being hungry with pain. It's all something that has to get solved and fixed. And so I'm excited. A lot of people have the doom and gloom attitude. I'm actually excited that we're in this time and we get to witness. We get to be the bridge from the old to the new, and we get to witness the false paradigms falling away.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of us, probably you too, been around long enough that I was told I would be here now and be
Mhm.
that bridge. I was told since I'm a mongrel, because at first I'm like, hey, I don't deserve this. I'm not qualified. I'm not blah, blah, blah. Because I am mixed breed. I've got all different bloods. And my teachers would just shake their head and go, that's your value. You will go places where we'll never get. You will talk to people who it would be difficult for us to do. They won't hear us. And so we're doing that now. We're bridging. We're pulling people in. I had a group show up yesterday for this little mini retreat. They were incredible. And some of them just saw it that morning and changed their whole schedules. They just said, we have to be here. And it turned out that way. And together we created, like you said earlier, yeah, myself and two others, we were there to facilitate it. We were not there to lead it.
Right.
We let everybody open their hearts and we
Mhm.
started creating. And it's hard to do. And anyone listening to this later, I think there's a couple things if you consider it can help you on the road. One is look in the mirror. The hardest thing to do in existence is look in the mirror and seriously look at yourself and kind of look at, oh, I have value. Look at your values. Don't look at things that are a detriment. They always show up. No, what can you contribute? And then the other one is, and boy, did I have trouble with this for years and years. You can't do this heart work effectively if you don't love yourself.
Yeah,
You've got to love yourself, all your beautiful parts and all your scars.
absolutely. And that's a great note to leave this discussion on. I think the key for for most of us, almost all of us, is that because everything flows from that. Being able to understand a different kind of self-love that's not ego-based. I think we get worried a lot when we start awakening that, oh, if I love myself, that means I'm raising myself above somehow, or, I'm treating myself better than I deserve, or, all these negative self-talk types of messages. But the insight that I gained that I'll share in case it resonates with anyone is two things. One is how can you honor the gifts that you acknowledge that you've been given, whatever talents you have, without loving the source that it came from? And if you believe that you're part of that source, you're an expression of it, how can you not love yourself? So it's not about you loving your ego and stroking your ego so that you can feel safe. It's or illusion of safe. It's about you acknowledging where you came from, what you've been given, and loving that and just letting it flow from the source, whatever you call it, God, great spirit, doesn't matter. It's you are of that. And so love that.
Yeah, you're right. And love your gifts and use your gifts. I have people say to me, "Wow, Jim, you're really an excellent writer and a great speaker." And I said, "Well, thank you. I accept that, but don't ask me to sing or dance because you'll watch me fall on my face." I've learned, okay, these are my skills. I'll apply them. And when
Mhm.
other things come up, we look for those who are skilled in that. And
Yeah.
that's the circle working again. One other thing, if we can just throw in here quickly, because I think it's really important right now, and it bears on the work you're doing. Well, we all are, but with this group, the men have pulled back again. I've been doing this a lot of years. There was a time it was only me and women in circles. And then it started to balance out. And I saw more and more men come, and it was always a little more women than men, but it was much closer.
Mhm.
Over the last year, I've watched too many men pull back. We need the men because we need balance. The
100%.
women are not trying to take over. The men should not be trying to retain the status quo. We've got to move this way. That's how it's going to work. Otherwise, each of us is half.
Yes. 100%. I completely agree with that. And I encourage any men that are listening, if you've kind of been on the fence about getting involved somehow or starting to do your work, but maybe it feels overwhelming and you don't really know where to start, start by sitting in a circle.
Yeah.
It's safe. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Men are waiting.
Yeah, it's
So with
nothing.
that,
It's nothing to be feared.
nothing to be feared. Exactly. Well, thank you, brother, for a wonderful discussion. And for those watching, I'm going to leave some links down below this video for contacting the best way to contact Jim or I. If you're interested in anything we said, or you're interested in possibly working with one of us, um, you'll have that information. If you're just here for the ride, you're welcome to. No pressure, but we're here doing our work, and we want to lock arms with you, and we want to welcome you in the circle. So join us, and let's make some changes. Aho.
Oh, thanks, brother.